Here we are looking at a portrait of the great Leonardo da Vinci. This isn't the work we will be talking about, but we will be looking at a couple pieces by Leonardo, and I personally like to get a visual on the person that we're going to be talking about. Now, Leonardo lived during the Renaissance, or rebirth after the Dark Ages, which is acknowledged for the individualistic and humanist ideas brought forth through works of art, music, and writings.
So you may wonder why we chose this piece, and specifically, this is anatomy, the heart, bronchi, and bronchial vessels. There are many thousands of drawings Leonardo did during his time of the human anatomy as a whole, really impressive for their time. And it's personally my favorite works by him would have to be the drawings he'd make on paper. To me, it shows that his mind had a great desire to understand the mechanics and beauty of the world around him.
Yeah.
It's interesting, while Leonardo's research on cadavers is surely questionable today, his work was very advanced for its time. His sketches and drawings proved to be extremely useful to medicine at the time.
So why was it so questionable?
Well, partly because the church did disagree with some of his methods. They were seen as sort of taboo, or out of the dissections he would make would even include women that have children in them already, or it wasn't seen as something that the church totally agreed with. Leonardo's interest in anatomy, according to the BBC bibliography of him, says that it began with Ludovico in Milan, and he started an apprenticeship there at 14. It's claimed that he had cut more than 30 corpses, and he'd made 18 double-sided sheets with more than 240 individual drawings and over 13,000 notes.
That's a lot, especially considering it wasn't legal for him to get those cadavers. I mean, I've heard he kind of went and did a whole grave digger's routine to get them.
His studies on the heart, they drew out tradition in a way. They continue to dominate Leonardo's depictions, and it shows that while they were the most complex, meticulous, and astonishing anatomical drawings for the time, Leonardo's first-hand knowledge was a bit rudimentary. But I think what separated Leonardo with many other artists of his times, though, and those after, was his eye for depicting nature in the most natural and realistic way possible. He wanted to understand the mechanical and as well as engineering behind the internal organs.
Which is very characteristic of Leonardo, since he did so many different drawings on all these subjects. Over 10,000 have been found around the world of the human body from his anatomical studies, and also many on architecture and various mechanisms that actually preceded the times he lived in. Like flying machines and tanks for the army are only a couple of the many things he designed.
Yes. Leonardo, his drawings, I think they brought forth an abstract and natural representation of the human anatomy. Many believe that, it's interesting at the time, many believe the heart to have two chambers, but Leonardo insisted there was four. He would test this by putting spiles into the heart. While he was in Tuscany, he saw an examination where they do it on a pig, and they would see how the heart would change its volume and its shape as well. As Leonardo observed the heart, he stated the heart wrings itself out as sort of a towel, and that there's almost a twisting motion to it. And it does seem kind of, for what we know now about medicine, we know it as the cardiac twist. It was a bit rudimentary, but his methods and his ability to make intricate and accurate depictions of the heart still remains unparalleled.
I certainly can't think of another artist from that time that really did the anatomy of the body the way that he did. Not that there weren't others that studied the body by cadavers, but he really, this was kind of his thing, which moves on to my next point, is he did lots of studies, which is what this is. It's study for a seated figure. And you might wonder why look at this instead of, an artwork like the Mona Lisa, which, by the way, if you haven't seen that, you should definitely go take a look at it. It is in the Louvre, by the way. It's one of those big ones that you really need to look at. But
Right.
this one's actually in the Louvre as well. So at least the Louvre thinks it's valid. Why? I definitely think it's showing his skill. It's showing what Leonardo really loved to do. He sketched, he drew out the anatomy of the body, and he.
Even the way light touches
Yeah, he shows light.
Right.
He shows movement. He's showing contrapposto here. He's, even though he's not showing the whole body,
You can see the orientation of the torso.
Yeah, you can tell by the way the legs are turned, and by the folds of the fabric, because you can't really see the torso,
Right.
but you can tell it's there. Like there's no question in my mind how the figure is sitting. It's like the top part of the body is there, even though it's not actually. And the book Leonardo da Vinci Anatomist actually says the fame of Da Vinci's surviving paintings has meant that he has been regarded primarily as an artist, but the thousands of surviving pages of his notebooks reveal the most eclectic and brilliant of minds. So this really does show him. He did
Right.
more than just finish paintings, and he actually didn't finish
Yeah.
that many paintings. He did a lot of thinking.
I think, like I said before, his even at a young age, he had an eye for just the world around him. He would be seen sketching drawings of plants and animals. And noticing this, his father had him apprenticed at 14 to the sculptor and painter Andrea del Verrocchio in Florence. And from 1466 to 1476, Leonardo spent his time in Andrea's workshop, learning the fundamentals of sculpting, modeling, painting, and drawing that I think would lead to his notice by the Medici and his rise to fame in Italy and Florence.
Yeah. I mean, this may not have a super deep meaning to it, although I'm sure you could find one if you wanted to. Within the movement, you could wonder what is this person doing? But it shows Leonardo. It shows him. It shows what he did. And it is a completed idea.
Leonardo, I think, was possibly the first artist in his time to really treat drapery like not only drapery, but as well as the human anatomy and the world as a whole, more than an ornament or an addition. He almost gave it life. I think it was this childlike curiosity which will remain unparalleled.